To a modern observer, the name Waziristan is tied to decades of regional conflict. But in 1808, this was a territory largely unreachable by the outside world. Mountstuart Elphinstone, a British envoy on a mission to map the Afghan frontier, found himself documenting a people the British knew almost nothing about, the Waziri tribes. The Suleiman Range functioned as a geographic black box. While imperial borders were meticulously drawn, this central territory remained a void. Perimeter reports describe the Waziris as notorious plunderers. At the pass of Gomal, armed caravans expected no mercy from tribal raids. This reputation for border violence obscured the interior. Because few outsiders survived the approach or dared the pass, the specific social structures and laws governing the people inside the mountains remained invisible to the surrounding empires. The physical approach to Waziristan is defined by a sharp transition. The lower hills are bare and rocky, forming a steep perimeter that rises into the high peaks of the Suleiman Range. Past these jagged outer walls, the geography changes. The interior holds dense pine forests and specific cleared valleys where the tribes maintain terraced cultivation. The architecture of the region is equally extreme. In settlements like Kanigoram, the Waziris carved homes directly into the rock, 3-story cave dwellings with entrances high enough to accommodate a loaded camel. When winter snows made the high peaks uninhabitable, these clans moved. They migrated to the lower, warmer plains, living in low-profile black tents and temporary hovels made of mats. Elphinstone's accounts describe a tall, muscular people who wore high conical black caps and heavy black blanket coats. This attire, combined with long beards and sandals made of straw rope, created a silhouette that matched the harshness of the terrain. Their independence was reinforced by the mountains themselves. The range is rich in iron ore, which the Waziris mined and forged into their own matchlocks and shields, exporting the surplus to the plains below. This self-sufficiency in resources and the natural insulation of the geography allowed the tribes to develop a social order that remained largely unaffected by the cultural shifts of the empires at their borders. While the Waziris were known to outsiders for their raids, Elphinstone recorded an internal social order that relied on different principles. At a time when most neighboring societies were governed by monarchs or powerful khans, many Waziri groups operated as democracies. They lacked a central government or king, yet they maintained a society with almost no internal warfare between clans. Disputes were often settled through a high degree of mutual trust. For example, if a man claimed a stray goat as his own and confirmed it by stroking his beard, the other party would yield the animal immediately, accepting the word of his neighbor without further proof. This internal peace existed alongside the violence of the trade routes. The same tribes that raided large caravans also adhered to a strict unwritten code regarding the individual traveler. If a person manages to enter the house of a Waziri, even if that person is an enemy, the master of the house is bound by tribal law to provide food, hospitality, and a safe escort through their territory. By treating the border as a zone of combat and the home as a zone of absolute safety, the Waziris maintained a legal code that served both their economic interests and their internal stability. Social norms regarding gender were also distinct. Waziri women were not required to perform hard labor. They wore shifts of red cotton and were often decorated with as much gold and silver as their husbands could provide. Most distinct from the neighboring cultures of the 19th century was the Waziri custom regarding marriage. A woman could choose her own husband through a public ritual. She would send a drummer to pin her own hairpin to a man's cap in front of the camp. Once named publicly, the man was required to marry her, provided he could pay the bride price to her father. Elphinstone's 1808 record shows that extreme geography does not prevent the formation of an ordered society. It simply shapes one that is uniquely calibrated to the mountains it inhabits.